in the last week, ever since Tim Macklin made the announcement that he was going to freeze rates, so we're not going to hear anything until April in terms of price rates. He's not going to do one in the March one. He's not doing any rate hikes or anything. He's just holding. So with that in mind, people started to get back into the real estate game. And so in that last week and a bit, the market's been actually heating up, which is a problem. Unfortunately, if we have activity in our economy, if we have people going out and buying because they think times are good, inflation is not going to subside, and he is going to have to go on another big rate run. And so, I think one of the things. Can I play a video, Mike, that would really help us to understand? It's a 2-minute video, and what it does is it really helps us to understand why we have to have this inflation under control, because if we don't, we can go into a double dip inflation, is what they call it. And supposedly the second time that you have an inflation run, it's so much harder to tame it. Now, we know that things are very heated, and we know also that they're blaming it on us Canadians, which it's not our fault. There's no way we could have ever have spent the money that the government spent during COVID. That's the real reason. However, it's being blamed on us. And if we make a run too early, the next batch will be us fueling it, and it will be issues. So can we play this video now, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay, listen up, peoples.
Inflation hit 9% in July, the highest it's been in 40 years, and it's barely dropped since then. So what will it take to get it under control? Hopefully not what it took the last time this happened, about 40 years ago. To explain, let's go back to the late 70s. Inflation hit 10% and then some after creeping up slowly for years. Now, normally, the Federal Reserve Bank can curb this by raising something called the federal funds rate. Simply put, that makes it more expensive for banks and people to borrow money, so they spend less and inflation goes down. But look, when we add the federal funds rate to the graph, now here in orange, you can see it wasn't working. As the rate crept up, so did inflation. In fact, it went past 12%. Financial expert Paul Schatz said the Fed was being too timid.
The Federal Reserve is almost always either to blame or has their DNA all over some kind of systemic problem.
But that changed big time in August of 1979 when a new Fed chairman named Paul Volcker took over and proceeded to give our economy the equivalent of tough love. He beat inflation by creating a recession, 2 of them actually, by repeatedly hiking that rate to 20%.
Inflation went down dramatically. The Fed lowered rates, and then into 1982, inflation skyrocketed again. Volcker and the Fed really hammered rates. They went crazy on rates in 81, 82.
And it was painful for Americans, especially because unemployment at the time was at 7%. But it worked. Inflation peaked at about 14% in mid-1980, and 3 years later, look at this, it was back under 3%. So do we need that kind of tough love today? Well, experts disagree, but the Fed has been adamant that they are not trying to cause or worsen a recession. The federal funds rate now is just a little bit over 2%, a far cry from 20, but more raises are coming. We'll just see if they take 3 years to work this time around. I'm Tim Lammers, Fox 61 News.
So basically, what he was saying there is that if the Bank of Canada raises rates too quickly, we're going to have sort of that double dip recession. And so this is the fear. This is why you hear Bank of Canada come out, and they may have some strong language. Their language that they use is almost as important as the rate hikes, because what they're trying to do is to have people follow their instructions so that they reduce their spending. They're afraid of hiring. They're like, they're keeping everything moderate in order to choke the money out of the system. So there's not an over demand situation, and therefore supply has to bring good prices down. They don't have to try to keep up with demand, and basically, having an overstocking, reducing of pricing, and bringing down inflation. That's the philosophy. That's what they're looking to do. And I get it. I really do get it. I just think it's really unfortunate that that Canadians are to blame when we know that it was our government. It was actually sicker than that.
That really
It
stuck with you,
it,
hey, what
it
that
was,
guy said to
yeah.
me.
Well, no, I hear it from a lot of people. It's all over the news, all the news anchors and all of them. It's almost like the news in the States where for whatever reason, it just seems like there's just this real I don't know, biased towards liberal governments when it comes to media. And so our media is absolutely supporting the fact that the Bank of Canada and their monetary policies were married lockstep and jump to the fiscal policies of the liberal government. And then that gave the liberal government unlimited spending power because they did not have to worry about what was happening with that debt because the Bank of Canada was buying it because nobody else was going to buy all this debt. Like, you have to understand that what the Bank of Canada did was feed the dragon. And then when you then create all this money, the after effect of it is inflation. They're the ones that caused it, not us, because we came out of COVID and decided that we wanted to go to a restaurant. Are you kidding me? That's not what caused the inflation. It was caused from the overspending of our government. But all over the media, they say something absolutely different. So,
Well, what was that
so
saying?
what happened? It wasn't greedy investors like they're trying to say now with this residential real estate investors and investment properties plan, where they saw investors move from 20% to 30%, and it's those greedy investors that piped up the real estate market.
Yeah, but if
No,
we
it
didn't
wasn't.
have investors, where would people be
But-
living when they need to rent something?
But that's not that's another problem. If you solve investor problem, bring it down to zero, what's going to happen to the rental market? But let's forget that for a second. The reason why investments jumped from 20 to 30% was not that investors decided they want to go out and buy properties. It was because every mom and dad had to sign on their kid's property in order for the kid to get the mortgage. So all those mom and dads are considered investors. That's what the increase is from, right? It's not from all of a sudden everybody's an investor. Yeah, we had lots of investors, and that's been it throughout the history of the Toronto Real Estate Board. And if we don't have investors, that's fine. Go ahead, get rid of them. But what's going to happen to the rental market? Thank you for watching our video. We hope you enjoyed it. And please let us know your thoughts in the comments, as well as any questions you may have. We're live most Saturdays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so make sure to tune in. If you're interested in learning more about real estate, click the link in the description to sign up, and we'll send you a series of educational videos all about real estate. Thank you again for watching, and remember to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and click the bell icon so you can stay up to date on all our future uploads.